Welcome back to another episode of Sets and Reps. This is your host, Greg Gadanian. I really hope you had a good day today. I hope that you got a lot done, and I hope that you were dependent on yourself. And I hope that you trusted yourself today. There's no guest on this episode. I take some time in the beginning to go through a personality quiz to see if I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And that leads into me talking a little bit about my career, where it stands right now, where I want it to go in the future, some of the ups and downs in my career. I talk about my top 4 recommended exercises for building functional strength, meaning your body's ability to operate efficiently in movement in everyday life. I also talk about my top 5 nutrition tips for health and wellness. Just general things that everybody should be doing. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode. I hope you enjoy. Once again, for the people in the back, if you didn't hear it before, you're hearing it now. This is Sets and Reps with Greg Gadanian. Just me today. No guest this time, which is a little bit interesting. I'm going to have to be talking to myself here for a good amount of time, but that's all right. Sometimes you need that opportunity to reflect on your day, reflect on your week. I had a pretty relaxing day today. It was my day off from work. Didn't have any training. I got my body composition measured today. Shout out my coworker, very skilled personal trainer. Right now, in case you're interested, I'm about 12% body fat, weighing in at 200 pounds. So not quite where I want to be. I find that physically I'm a pretty lean guy, but I just have visceral fat, right? That kind of gut fat that's really hard to get rid of. And then I got some heft to my glutes, so I have a weird body shape, and so I'm thinking I'm gonna try to get myself down to 180, 185, and then keep that 12%. I don't see anything wrong with that number. But anyways, we're here. I want to welcome you guys. This has been a really cool thing for me so far. I don't know that I've done something like this and kept up with something like this for as long as I have been. I mean, I'm just trying to make it every other week now, every other week on Fridays. So far, that's been working out pretty well. I've been getting some good positive feedback from people that are close to me, and I'm interested in what you're thinking as well. You out there, listener, yes, you. I created an email for this podcast, and this email, of course, is setsandreps@gmail.com. And if you are interested, if you got 5 minutes in your day, I want you to shoot me a quick email, say hello, right? Be a person, don't be weird. And let me know what you want to hear in a future episode. What are some topics that you want to discuss? What do you feel like is not being discussed in other podcasts that you listen to? In general, this podcast, I like to keep it centered around things that have some relation to fitness and just general self-improvement and getting your life right to where you want it to be. And I know we've talked about a bunch of different topics so far, but in general, it's lifestyle, and I want it to be relatable. I'm a college student. I'm moving through life, and I want to be able to talk about things that other people can kind of vibe with and feel like they are being heard or listened to, right? So do that. Send me an email, setsandrepspod@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I hope you were productive today. Like I said, it was my day off. So what I had to do so that I wasn't sitting around is I had to write a list. And this podcast was on that list right here. It says record self pod. And so I had to sit down and do it because it was on that list. And it's pretty satisfying when you can cross things off your list when you're done writing them and done doing them, of course. So that's a pretty good tip if you want to be productive on a day that you don't really have much to do. I also got some studying done today. That was also crossed off my list. So woohoo! Finals coming up next week. By the time this gets released, I don't know how accurate that will be, but it doesn't matter because I'm living in the real time and I'm doing what's mine, and I'm trying to protect what's mine and get stuff done. All right. I wanted to start this off here by doing something I don't normally do. I went online and I found some quizzes, personal quizzes to take. And I thought it would be a good option for me to kind of, well, first of all, for you guys to get to know me because you're going to hear me read out each question and read out the answers for the questions. So you'll get to know me and you'll get to see a little bit of the way how I think. And I've never taken these particular ones before. So I think it should be kind of fun. And I thought it would be a little a way that I can relax and ease into this episode. So I went to a website called Psychology Today, and I picked out 3 tests. And I haven't taken these yet before now, so we're gonna do it, and we're gonna see what happens. The first one that I'm gonna take is called "Can you be an entrepreneur?" and it says 20 minutes. So we'll see how fast I can do it. But it basically says, "Are you curious about whether you would make it as an entrepreneur? Wondering how you would cope and what you would be like if you decided to start your own business?" And just a side note, I do want to eventually start my own business. I want it to be fitness related. A goal for a lot of fitness professionals is to end up working for themselves. And right now, I work for a health club, and I'm getting my experience working with clients, working with individuals, helping them achieve goals and stay consistent with a personal fitness regimen. And I want to take that and make it my own someday in some form. But this test I thought would be a good way for me to see if that's something that I'd be able to do, because it says examine the following statements and indicate to what degree they apply to you. In order to receive the most accurate results, please answer each question as honestly as possible. So we're going to get rocking. All right. So looks like we got strongly agree, somewhat agree, or disagree, and strongly agree. So the first question is, being average in anything is a terrible thought for me. You know, I agree with that. I'm not going to say I strongly agree because I know what state I'm in right now, and I know that that's not the eventual state that I want to be in. But I think that agreeing with that statement is a good step in the right direction, especially if you feel like personally you're not meant to be anything, or you feel like you're, I don't know, not cut out. I think it's a good mindset to agree with that. Being average in anything is a terrible thought for me. Time is money. I somewhat agree. I could spend more time being productive and doing things that are gonna increase my earning potential, for sure. So I definitely agree with that. Competition keeps me alive. I'm gonna say that I somewhat agree. Definitely. It depends on what situation you're in, what environment you're in, but you can't be comfortable all the time. And the next question says, unless you are walking with a destination in mind, you are losing time. That's a really good one. Whew. I'm going to say I agree with that, because you really, if you're not aiming for a goal, then what are you aiming for? I don't know. If you didn't write something out and you're not thinking for yourself and starting to think about your future, I don't know how productive you're being with your time. All right. If a coworker is performing better than me, I have to outdo him or her. And these questions, the answers to these questions say exactly like me, a lot like me, somewhat like me, a little like me, and not at all like me. So for this one, I'm going to have to go with a little like me. I'm not, if I look at my coworker and see that they're doing better than me, I'm not going to have any negative thoughts about that person. I'm going to, appreciate what they're doing and look at what they're doing and see if there's any way that I can improve how I'm working, how I'm performing. But I don't see it as like I have to outdo him or her, and maybe that's something that I should have. Maybe that's an attitude I should have, and that would help me to get into a better headspace for business. Making conversation is something I'm good at. I'm gonna say that's a lot like me. I like talking to people. I find myself to be sociable and outgoing. Some cases that's are different than others, right? If I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable, I think everyone can agree. In certain environments, they're more comfortable and they're more likely to make good conversation with people. Start a podcast, you know what I mean? It helps. I strive to fill the needs of people. I'm going to say that's somewhat like me. I've worked in retail under a boss, and I'm going to be working as a physical therapist assistant in the future, um, working obviously under the supervision of a physical therapist. So there are, and dealing with patients and helping people with their needs. And so I do feel like I belong in that kind of business, helping people. And so I'm going to say, I'm actually going to change my answer. I'm going to say that's a lot like me. I strive to fill the needs of people. I can follow through on plans for sure. Um, Now, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, the list, right? If you write something down on a list, you're going to want to follow through with that list, follow through with that plan, and accomplish it. And so I'm going to say that it's somewhat like me because I don't always, as a human, I don't always hit the mark, but I'm trying to. And that's my goal. Next question. I enjoy making new business contacts. For me, the way that that relates to me, I guess that would be getting new clients and meeting new individuals in the gym that I can help work out and help keep them on track for their goals. And so I'll say that I enjoy that. Next one, this is pretty funny. Taking risks is easy for me. This is a little like me. Definitely, that's something that I could say that I could work on. Taking risks, right? Man, like imagine how much success that you'd have if you just did, you know, did what you want to do without worrying about what's going to happen. And that, of course, take that with a grain of salt, right? Everyone's situation is different. I think I need to take more risks and be more uncomfortable about things. So I'm putting that answer a little like me because I want to change that, make a change with that. I miss deadlines. I'm gonna say, um, not at all like me. Um, Even if I just think if you have a date that something needs to be due right now, especially for school, I'm trying to keep on target with all my assignments. I think that helps you with productivity. If you've got that deadline looming in your head, and of course, procrastination is a real thing, and I have it, but I tend to find that I get stressed out if I know that a date's coming up and I have to finish something. So I'm going to say that. So when I have a problem to solve, I immediately think the next question of all the people, friends, family, friends of friends who might be able to help me. Interesting. That's a good one. I do find that I that is a little like me, definitely. Um, Trying to see if I can think of an example off the top of my head. So if I have a friend, So I have a friend who is really crazy good with computers, right? He's a computer engineer, and whenever I have an issue with my stuff at home, I'm kind of savvy with my computer. But if I have something that's hindering me from moving forward, I'm gonna go to him and pick his brain about it. Even Brian, my first guest on the show, he was able to teach me a bit about producing beats and producing music, and that helped me, for editing some of these podcasts in the future. I want to do more of that. And it's all about who around you is in your circle that you trust and who is going to help move you forward. And it's not like you're taking handouts, but it's more like, who what resources do I have to build myself up here. All right, the next question is, I push myself so hard that I may just burn out. um, so I'm going to say that right now this is somewhat like me. I push myself when I'm working out at the gym. I push myself in my education, and I push myself in my job right now. Because of this whole COVID and this pandemic, it's been kind of tough for me to keep up a steady client base. Before I started, or before COVID started, I had a much larger client base than I do now. And I definitely was pushing myself because my time blocks were filled up more with clients. And so now I'm finding that it's a little bit slower at work, and I'm not pushing myself as hard all the time. And that's okay. It's something I have to work on. I want to be able to not burn out, though. That's an important part of that question. I push myself so hard I may just burn out. I don't think that you should burn out. I and this goes for working out in the gym too. You can't push yourself so hard that your muscles and your joints break down and you are unable to function the next day. Do what is to the best of your ability, control what you can control, and get it done. Next question, I cultivate relationships with people who could be of use to me or my company. I'm going to say again that that is somewhat like me. Next question, I second guess my decisions. Yeah, this is a lot like me. I'm going to say that. Um, Everyone goes through bouts of self-doubt, and that's a tough one. Best thing to do is just don't overthink it. Obviously, think about the repercussions, but if you spend all your time second guessing what's going on in your head, you're never going to be consistent. So sometimes you got to just make a choice. Next question, I often find myself at a loss for what to do next at work. Yeah, this is somewhat like me. This goes into the time is money and being productive part. And so I want to work on that. All right, next one here. All right. So I view all social gatherings as an opportunity to expand my network. That's it. That's cool. I think it should be more like that. I'm gonna go ahead and say a little like me because I like to talk about what I'm doing. That's why I'm on this podcast. Hello. Um, and I'd like to expand that skill. Definitely talking to people and networking. Next question. If I have to choose, I will always pick the safe route over a more risky choice. Ooh. Um, hmm. Yep. I'm going to say somewhat like me. Again, goes back to taking risks. Don't always stay comfortable. Selling things or ideas to others comes easily for me. Now, this one it's hard to answer this question. I've been working as a trainer for a while, and that one of the main parts of that job is selling training packages, selling yourself basically to someone who is ready to make a change, ready to work hard. And in that regard, yeah, I'm pretty good at selling a training package and getting to, and that only happens after I get to the why that the person is there in the gym. And so that aspect of it, talking to them and figuring out what it is that brought them into this place, I'm good at that. So I'm going to say a little like me. Next question. I need to be told what to do and when to do it at work. I'll say that this is somewhat like me. Um, we'll say, so yeah, somewhat. It's a smaller environment. There's only about 4 of us that are employees. And so when something definitely needs to get done, they tell, I'm notified that it needs to be done. And I do it. And if there's something that I find that my time is a little bit more free and there's something that needs to be done and I'm the only one at work and I do it. That's the best course of action. Moving along, when I go to a social gathering, I often hand out my business card or come out of it with a useful contact for work. Now, I have not done this. I have a business card through my health club that I work at, but I don't have a personal one yet. So that's something I could work on and do. I like that. I'm going to put not at all like me. I take pride in my work. Now, there's been some ups and downs in my career, and I want to take an opportunity in this podcast after I do these quizzes to talk a little bit about that. I think my personal pride in my job, of course, needs some work, but I'm going to say that this is somewhat like me. A lot like me. I'm going to say it's a lot like me. Because if you're gonna do something, back up what you do. You got to do it to the best of your ability, and it's okay if you overthink it, and it's okay if you have doubts about it. Just do your best. The next one is I procrastinate. I definitely procrastinate. Right away, I'm gonna say somewhat like me. I'm definitely working on it and getting better at it. Goes along with the fire that's under my a-hole for due dates and deadlines. The more deadlines that I have, I find I don't procrastinate as much. But if there is the easy option to relax and do something else, then sometimes I find that I end up there. It's just the way it is, you know? I need someone to tell me that I have done a good job in order to feel good about my work. Wow, these are the hard-hitting questions. Interesting. I'm going to say somewhat like me. I like to attend gatherings where I can meet new people. That's kind of cool. A lot like me. I like going out. I don't do it as much. Obviously, with COVID, can't really do too much with too many people in one room. They don't like that. You got to wear a mask, so you end up talking with your eyes a little bit more. Um, but I do like people. I like being around people. I don't want to be isolated. I find it difficult to prioritize my tasks. um, let's see. I'm gonna say this is a little like me. Again, for these questions, there's 5 options, opposite ends of the spectrum, exactly like me, not at all like me. So I'm not gonna say not at all like me because it's something that I need to work. That's a goal, right? To get to not at all like me. But I'm going to say a little bit like me for I find it difficult to prioritize my tasks because I know that it's something I want to work on. Next question. I show up when I say I will. Wow. So this is a good one. I'm definitely not late for work, not late for my shifts at work because I need to be there at a certain time. And if I'm not there, then the person that's working before me can't leave or there's not coverage where it needs to be. I'm not meeting my clients on time. So that's a big one. I'm going to say that it's a lot like me. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. So I'm not going to say exactly like me. Still some work that needs to be done. I have a negative attitude. Whew. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The world is not always positive. So the worst thing that you can have is a negative attitude, because it really just keeps you locked down in a cycle that's hard to get out of. And one of the things that I do to combat that is kind of talk to myself in a positive way. And even if I doesn't feel like it, I can bring myself in a put myself in a better direction, and have a better attitude in that way. So the answer to I have a negative attitude, I'm going to say that's a little like me. So I can easily put myself into someone else's shoes. I'm going to say a lot like me. Having that seems to me like empathy. That's something that's important for my current job and the field that I'm going to end up in. I break promises. This is not, so interesting. Keep promises for a lot of reasons. And I think that it's a pretty intense word, a promise. Like if you make a promise, that's like a commitment. And if you break that, somebody can get hurt. So and again, I said I'm not perfect, but I try to stay true to my word. And I try not to break something that I already say that I'm going to come through for. So I'm going to say that it's not at all like me. I keep an agenda or electronic organizer or notebook in handy to jot down ideas and reminders. This, I'm going to say, is exactly, yeah, it's exactly like me. I'm sitting right here in front of my planner. I got my list out that I wrote for the day. So that right there is a perfect example. Sometimes when I'm out and I got an idea in my head, maybe it's for something that I want to write, or maybe it's for a podcast, I pull out my phone and I write it in the notes on my phone. So yeah, I'm going to say that's exactly like me. I need approval from friends or family for every decision I make. This is something I do struggle with sometimes, and it's not necessarily good. Leads into like a dependence. I definitely don't need it for every single decision, but it's certainly helpful if I can talk to my family about something that I'm thinking about or going through, and I hear what they have to say about it. And it's the same with my friends too. So I'm going to say that this is a little like me. I don't know if I need approval, but I definitely need to hear what what some others that I trust have to say about it, because I honor their opinions. Almost done. This is 5 questions left. Thank you so far if you guys have been with me here. This is kind of cool. I'm enjoying this. I hate making a move when I'm unsure of what the outcome will be. I'm going to say that is somewhat like me. I get in my head a lot about the future and uncertainty of that future. But I think as long as you're moving forward and you're not keeping yourself in a stagnant place, I think it's okay to be unsure about the future. Kind of dive into it. The only way is through. You know what I'm saying? I lose important things / documents. Yeah. Um, this is, yeah. If it's really important, I'm definitely going to prioritize keeping it safe. One of the things my father taught me to do was keep a file for things. And I'm doing more of that. This year, I spent time doing more of kind of organizing and making sure I have what I need for things. So I'm going to say a little like me, or I'm sorry, somewhat like me, uh, because I'm getting better, and I'm taking a step towards, um, yeah, a little like me. I'm actually going to say, my bad, because it's like keys, for example. People lose their keys a lot. That's, something like that is fine. But like if you lose the registration for your car because your car is so messy, that's not okay. Keep your space clean. I can easily build a good rapport with people. Whew. That's a lot like me. I try to mirror what's going on when I meet someone for the first time. I try to be friendly and try to ask a lot of questions, get what info is inside of their head. And that's a huge part of my job. And again, I'm not perfect at it. So I'm not going to say exactly like me. I'm only 21 years old, turning 22 in January. I'm not making an excuse. I'm not. That sounded like an excuse. I'm not making an excuse for myself. But I've only been in this industry for about 2 years, and my goal is to improve on these things. Um, so again, I'm not going to say it's exactly like me. I'm going to say it's a lot like me. I think that if something can go wrong, it will. This is a little like me because I know that we have control of our actions. And I know that sometimes things are uncertain. But I don't think that means that you should just focus on what's going to go wrong. That ties into the negative attitude. So it's helpful if you speak positive things, you speak encouraging things into your life, write things down. Just be positive, be a little more positive, you know? Stop worrying about all this shit. I can carry through on my ideas without depending on anyone else. I'm going to say that this is a lot like me because if it's my idea, it's my thing. And usually it's tough when someone else comes in and takes a poo-poo on it, you know? When you're collaborating with someone and working on a project, that's another story because you need to be able to hear what they have to say and come to a positive ground on something. All right, so I finished this test. 37 questions. Woo! I think I'm only going to do one more. The other one says 5 minutes, so it's, 10 minutes. So it's a little bit shorter. I'm going to score my test, see what it gives me. So this is a free thing, so I don't think it's going to give me the total personalized report. Yeah, so it's got tabs. It says summary, intro, graphs, detailed results, strengths and limitations, and advice. So the only option I can view is summary. Gives me a little bit of an overview. It says that I'm fairly people-oriented, although I have the potential to improve my interpersonal skills even more. In order to be successful in the entrepreneurial field, I'll need to create relationships with helpful business contacts, clients, suppliers, and employees. This requires strong interpersonal skills and a certain degree of comfort, initiating conversations and networking, all of which generally seem to be strengths for me. I may want to consider taking classes to further brush up on my people skills and assertiveness skills. Yeah. In general, that kind of lines up pretty well with my own thoughts about myself, my own thoughts about my career, and what I am doing to move it forward. So this quiz was pretty helpful. It got me thinking, and it put some ideas into my head on what I need some work on. And that's kind of cool. So there's 2 other quizzes that I was planning on taking, but for time's sake, and there's a couple other things that I want to talk with you guys, you beautiful people, about today. There's one that's fitness IQ. I'm going to save that one for later. Looks pretty cool. And then there's goal setting skills. So again, this website is Psychology Today. They've got tons of quizzes on here. You do have to pay to get like full personalized results, but it's cool. It helps you think a little bit about yourself and yeah. So do that. Go to Psychology Today. So I talked a little bit about my career. I want to, and what it is currently right now. Like I said, before COVID, I had about 20 clients, maybe 25 at the most. A lot of different personality types. Most of them were people that wanted to get active again, get into a workout routine after not doing it for a while. Most of them were were older adults between 30s to middle age. I would meet with them twice a week. Each person would meet twice a week for an hour. We'd work out, we'd talk to each other, we'd get to know each other. I try to build rapport a little bit each time. Um, I enjoy working with kids as well. I have right now I have a few student athletes. Um, it's really fun. They can do a lot. Their bodies are strong. They play a lot of sports. They're running and moving around a ton. And so when you're training them, the best thing that you can do is positively reinforce what they've already got and get them going in the right direction. And I'm trying to do, and I'm not trying, I'm fulfilling that and doing the best and best of my ability to make sure that I keep up with them and they keep up with me because I'm a tough cookie and I can push them. Don't test me. I'll make you do jumping jacks for a whole hour. Just kidding. I won't. That would be the most pointless thing in the world. So right now I have probably about 50% of what I had before. That's on a good day. So it's not going to be, you're in your job, maybe you're not going to be 100% all the time, but you, again, I some most of this podcast is me just saying things and repeating things sometimes, but you want to do, what you know, to the best of your ability. Control what you can control, and don't stress and overthink what you can't control. And as I mentioned, I'm going through school right now to become a physical therapist assistant. So that's where my career is headed. I'm not going to leave the fitness industry completely, but both the physical therapy field and the personal trainer field are both movement based, function based. I really enjoy learning about the human body. I took both anatomy classes. I'm about to take a kinesiology course. Um, I exercise myself. I've been working out for about 3 years now, maybe 4. It's fun. I love it. So, what I want to do in the future, right? I think it would be really cool if I could become a certified strength coach. And for those of you who don't know, that's a certification that you can get working on strength and conditioning for athletes. The high end is working in professional areas, working with professional teams, on collegiate level, like, and beyond. That would be like a nice long-term goal. But I'd be happy working with a high school team, you know, um, making sure they are keeping themselves strong, keeping themselves healthy, like well-oiled machines on and off the field. Working on footwork, working on agility, whatever they need, building their strength specific to their own sport, because you don't want to be giving them things to do that they don't necessarily need to do. So there's a few different options for me. I've got multiple avenues in this career. I'm working on becoming a PTA. That's a 2-year degree, right? I've already got a 2-year degree in exercise science, and I'm a personal trainer. After working as a PTA for a while, 1 to 2 years, what I might do is I might go the full way and become a physical therapist. That would be a doctorate program. I've been in school right now for about 5 years, so I think, or at the end of my PTA degree, I will have been in school for 5 years, so it'll be time for me to work and take some time off from that. But like I said, after I, you know, work for a while in that field, I might just want to go ahead and become the full thing, PT. Another option would be to take my exercise science degree, get a bachelor's degree with that. Then with that bachelor's degree, I'd be able to get my certified strength coach, strength and conditioning coach certification there. That's the requirement. It's kind of annoying that I can't do it now with 2 associate's degrees, but it is what it is. So if I wanted to, I could get the exercise science bachelor's degree, and then I could become certified as a strength coach and continue to be a PTA. So I could definitely do both. But there's a lot of options for yourself. Don't cut yourself short. Think about what you're doing right now. Think about what you want to do. Think about what you like to do. Do your research. Read articles. Definitely write and think about ways that you can improve your state of being right now. Think about things. Yeah, that's right now is the key there. It's like, what can I control right now? And deal with those things. All right. And there's a couple other things that I want to cover. I love working out. I love fitness, and I love tons of different varieties of fitness. And one of the reasons that I have this podcast now is that is so that I can help you as a listener exercise and take control of your health and feel a little bit better about yourself. Get stronger. So what I've gathered here is the top 3 exercises from the fitness professional to you that I feel that beginners and everyone should do. And these aren't in any particular order, but I just feel like as far as building strength and staple movement patterns, there's a lot going on in these exercises, and I think that they should be done. So first one I have here is 2. I'm gonna actually, for this first one, technically it's 4 exercises, but the first 2 are interchangeable because they are similar movements and similar muscles being engaged and targeted. All right, but I'll tell you the differences between both. So I'm gonna say back squat with a barbell, and that's that straight bar, the 45-pound bar that you rest on your traps, going all the way to the ground with your hips parallel to the ground and then coming right back up. That mixed with the conventional or sumo deadlift. Now, for the deadlift, obviously you're pulling the weight up from the ground, so it targets your glutes. If you're doing the movement correctly, it targets your glutes and your hamstrings a little bit more. And those are the muscles on the back side of your leg. So your glutes, that would be your butt cheek, and your hamstring would be the back of your leg, right? Works those muscles a little bit more than the back squat. Now, the back squat hits your quads, hits your glutes a little bit more. What you don't want to feel with this movement is a lot of excessive low back focus. Like, if you're doing deadlifts, you're going to feel your low back a little bit more, but you don't want to feel pain and discomfort after doing the movement. All right. So definitely keep your technique form. Both of these movements are hip hinges. So you are getting into your stance with proper engagement of your abdominal muscles. You're shifting back, making sure you're distributing the weight evenly on all parts of your foot. So your big toe, your pinky toe, and your heel. When you're going down, like for that squat, dropping down, hips parallel, keeping the core engaged, pushing up, back to the top again. With this deadlift, the same thing. You kind of have to get into a squat motion to get down there, grip the bar, keeping the chest up and the back nice and straight. You don't want to excessively curve your back. And you drive up from your hips and your glutes to a standing position and slowly lower it back down to the ground again. So first exercise, combination of 2, the barbell back squat and the deadlift. Next, moving on, we got the standing overhead shoulder press with barbells or with dumbbells. So this is a really strong pushing motion, and I feel that this is a little bit more functional than doing a bench press flat on your back. And I say that because in life, you're more likely to push and make the motion of reaching, extending with your shoulder, with your arm while you're standing up on your feet, right? Just makes a lot more sense. You're not really doing a lot of pushing on your back unless you're trying to get a pesky feline off of your chest. Sometimes you cat owners out there, I know that your cat probably likes to hang out when you're sleeping and likes to bug you a little bit and sleep on you. So I guess when you're pushing your cat off your chest, that's the functional equivalent of bench pressing. Um, but I like the overhead shoulder press because it gives you an opportunity to really engage your core while you are pressing. And if you don't have proper engagement, you're going to lose it, start curving your back. So you need to make sure that you have minimal back arching because, again, you could get hurt. So start with lighter weight, work on the movement quality before weight. All right. Again, standing overhead shoulder press. Now, the last one here, we've covered squat pulling motions with our back squat and our deadlift. We've covered pushing motions with the overhead shoulder press. And now we're going to work on some upper back pulling. So we're going to do a bench supported single arm dumbbell / kettlebell row. And this is a good one that works on bilateral strength, which means one side at a time. So you can work on your left the left side of your body or the right side of your body, keeping good support with your core. Back stays nice and straight, and you've got that bench underneath you, so you can be functional. You can build a lot of strength, a lot of pulling strength with that one side. This is especially good for people in life who maybe you're mowing the lawn, right? You got that lawnmower and it's got that ripcord thing and you pull on that a tons of times, right? And it doesn't always come. So do your bench supported single arm dumbbell rows and you'll be able to start that lawnmower easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So these are my top 3/4 exercises for building strength that beginners and everyone should do. And again, I'm just going to go over them again. Conventional sumo deadlift or back squat, the standing overhead shoulder press, and the bench supported single arm dumbbell or kettlebell row. All right. Please take those to the gym, do them, let me know how they went. And again, send me another email. I want you guys to blow up my email, setsandrepspod@gmail.com. Let me know how the exercises went, how they made you feel. I want to cover one more thing. With your exercising and with your habits in the gym, you need to treat yourself just as well outside of the gym. You're going to be in the kitchen, cooking the work, eating good, eating fresh food. And so I want to give you some of my top 5 nutrition tips. Now, these aren't specific. Some things will depend on the person, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But in general, if you are someone that works out and you're someone that exercises, these are things that you should do to keep yourself healthy, keep yourself fit. My first tip here on the list, and again, this will depend on the person, whether you eat before you go to exercise or not. My tip here is that you should have a meal in you at least an hour and a half before you work out and fuel. And before you work out. And that's fuel for you. That's fuel for your physical activity, especially if you're lifting heavier that day. You want that. You want that gas in the tank. I've noticed differences in my workouts. If I again, this is different for each person. If I go in without eating anything before, I find that I get tired quicker. And that, whether that's a mental thing or not, I mean, again, you can have a strong say over what you will agree to let your body do, right? You do have a say, right? So if physically you're not feeling great, you can just, again, talk to yourself mentally and be like, hey, I'm gonna get through this. But a general rule of thumb, you should have a meal in you at least an hour and a half before you work out. And you should have protein in that meal. You should have carbohydrates in that meal. Fat is going to be a little harder for you to digest uh, right before your workout. And so I'm thinking of I you need to have the carbohydrates and the protein. So um, again, to fuel and to have that energy to get you through to the end. The second tip that I'm going to say is water all day water. People have told me that they don't like drinking water. I honestly find that to be one of the most ridiculous things in the world. It's a really good habit to drink water. Keeps you hydrated. If you're thirsty, that means that you're hydrated. Pretty sure. That's kind of like if you're thirsty, that means you need it. Your body needs it. Listen to your body. Keeps your muscles lubricated. It keeps your joints lubricated. It keeps everything working smoothly. And it's better than all that other crap that's out there. All right. So that's number one and number two. A meal before you go to the gym and drink water. It's recommended that you have 65 ounces or more per day. And so that would be a good goal for you to start off with, making sure that you get that amount in. And just one more tip about that. If you get a big water bottle and fill it up multiple times throughout the day, that would be a really good way for you to stay on task with that. All right. Next tip that I'm going to say, quality over quantity. All right. So, and when I say that, I just mean always eat fresh whole foods from good sources. Have variety and eat everything in moderation. All right. So don't go overboard with it. And try not to eat those foods that are going to make you want to eat more, like the foods that are going to make you crave more. Eat what's necessary. And again, always eat from fresh and whole food sources. Okay. Two more left. Your meals, you can prep your meals, right? That's a good tip, to prep your meals or at least cook them in higher quantities than what you need at the moment. And the reason that you do that is so that you can portion them out for when you eat. If that makes sense. So I found I don't always meal prep, but I found that when I do, definitely saves some time and energy for me. And I'm able to focus on other things that I need to do. And I don't necessarily have that extra stress on making sure I have the food that I need for work or have the food that I need for the day, because it's there. And even if it's not prepped out into individual packages, if I cook in that higher quantity, then I'll be able to easily portion it out because there'll be enough there for when I need it. All right. And the last one, something that we all deal with sometimes, check yourself when you start to do something against what you planned for. So for me, I am trying to only eat between the hours of 11 and 8. And it's sort of like a intermittent fasting, maybe inadvertent fasting would be a better way to put it. But check yourself. Like, if you say that you're not going to eat past 8 o'clock and you do, why are you doing that? Just have a conversation with yourself. Say, hey, you already said that you're gonna do this. You're not sticking with it. And it's important to have that awareness and have that that internal clock, that internal reminder. Goes back to goal, like, goes back to aiming for that higher option. And so when you go against that, figure out why. I'm gonna just run over those again because I tend to talk a little bit longer than I need to. So the first one, you should have a meal in you at least an hour and a half before you work out for fuel. The second one, drink water all day, 65 plus ounces a day, in order to keep your muscles moving well, your joints moving well, and staying hydrated. Number 3, quality over quantity. Eat fresh, whole foods from good sources. And I tied everything in moderation with that. Number 4, prep your meals, or at least cook them in higher quantities so that when you need to portion your meals out for the day, it's there and it's already taken care of. Woohoo! Last thing, number 5, check yourself when you start to do something against what you had planned for. Stay on target. Stay working on what you set out to do, because, man, like, I definitely get it. It's hard. Like, it's not always going to be easy to stay on a path and stay doing the right thing. It takes time. But you're only gonna be further out from where you want to be if you are working against what you had set out to do. So that was a lot. I'm gonna take a break here. I'm going to sign off. And I think that this was a really good podcast. I really had some time to think about my future, where my career should be headed, where it is right now. I had some time to think about some personal skills that I feel that I need to develop more, things that I need to work on more in order to get to a place where I want to be. And that's always something that I'm working on a little bit each day. We talked about the top exercises, my top exercises to give you for building strength, and some nutrition tips. So I hope that you were able to glean something from this podcast. And I really want to also wish you the best of luck on anything that you're doing. Just stay at it and have those conversations with yourself when you need to. Speak positively to yourself. Try not to always just try not to let that impulsive, like, sometimes we have impulsive negative thoughts. Try not to let them get the best of you. One of the classmates that I have in my program said something to me along the lines of, you can't always control your first thought, but you can control your next thought, So always make sure you're using that next thought to speak positively and speak yourself in the right direction that you want to go. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time on Sets and Reps.